Catherine.
Hi, how are you, Madam Chair?
I'm okay.
I see you are here and on time.
Yes.
Sawa, karibuni sana.
Today I decided to be here early.
Yeah, that is nice. You are almost welcome.
Mm.
And
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for keeping time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think in the interest of time, we'll just get started. I see we are good quorum. And I'll take this opportunity to welcome all of you on board. I know it's been a busy time. I see most of you here whom I've been seeing in other forums, and I can see there's a lot of learning and a lot of connection going on. Maybe just before we invite our chair, we can get a few reactions on how we are doing. Ken, would you like to unmute and tell us how you're doing? You're in is it Embu or Meru?
I am in Meru.
How is Meru?
Meru is fine. We are doing well.
Yes.
Still processing what is happening.
Yes.
And figuring out the next moves with the further studies and also the mental health challenges.
Yes.
It's not very easy, but we are coping.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Joyce Wangari, I see you. How are you doing? How are you coping?
I'm doing quite well. So nice to see all of us today. I must say a little bit overwhelmed because the students I serve are now just in lots of conflicts. And it seems like this COVID-19 season is like an oven. Everything is building up and there's a lot of stress.
Okay.
So I'm beginning to wonder what is really going on.
So you need to take care of yourself too.
Yes, and what we can also do ourselves here, you know. Sometimes I feel like I'm just in my house and I'm listening to some stories. I'm like, what else is possible? I may not be able to be, you know, available in every single corner, but this is a wonderful meeting so we can plan on some solutions.
Sure.
Pauline, would you like to share how you're doing? How are you doing? You can unmute.
You get? Am I on now?
Yes.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, this is the first thing. glad to be here. We are doing fine in Kakamega at most. And of course, just like the previous person who just spoken right now, students actually having issues. We are getting so many calls, but we are connecting through WhatsApp groups and trying to encourage one another. Glad to be here.
Okay, you're most welcome. Anybody else who is willing to share how they're feeling? Alice, Anika? Have we lost her? We can get somebody to share how they're doing. Janet, would you like to share?
Not much.
How are you coping? Janet, how are you coping with this situation?
It has been well. Not many challenges. But keeping up with what is happening in the TV, the way we are supposed to keep distance, washing hands and staying at home, and also maybe taking care of our personal lives. Like if you have something stressing you, you need to talk to somebody so that you can get over it.
Thank you very much. I will invite the chair now to take over, and you've heard our members are doing, some are overwhelmed, others are coping well. Please take over and you take us through psychological first aid. How do we deal with ourselves as we deal with others?
Thank you, Catherine. How are you, members?
Hello there, how are you?
We are well.
Okay, welcome. This is Alice. Glad to see you people.
Most welcome, Alice. How is Pwani?
We are doing fine. We are doing well. I'm glad to see you people.
Most welcome. Okay, Chair, please take it up.
Alice, we are hearing you.
Okay,
thank
I'm
you.
saying okay, thank you.
Alice, are you done?
Yes, she is.
Yes, I'm okay.
Okay. Karibu sana for this meeting.
Thank you.
Let me take this opportunity once again to welcome us to this meeting. It is exciting to have all of us. Today we are quite a number and I am just excited. This is the 4th meeting in 1 month. We have these meetings on monthly basis once a week. And today we want to look at something quite interesting. We've just been getting updates on how members are coping. And we are aware that because of the outbreak of this COVID-19, it has created a lot of concerns, a lot of worries, a lot of anxieties, a lot of depression that members are raising. And that is perfectly normal. And it's not just with us as helpers, it is also with the general population, counselors inclusive. And we also know that in any crisis, any crisis impacts on our social network. We are not able to interact with one another easily. And this is one way of interacting and therefore very important for us as KUPCA members. This social interaction is vital for us and for human beings. It is important for us therefore to support all of us in KUPCA and to support those affected, even the ones in quarantine. And during this time, we know that keeping physical distance is mandatory, but being socially connected and in dialogue may not be mandatory, but it is of vital importance. And one way of keeping socially connected and in dialogue is through these Zoom meetings. So it is important that as members, we continuously connect through these meetings. And today we are connecting and we want to discuss a very important topic that will help us connect with those affected. We want to look at, what is it called? Professional first aid, personal first aid, psychological first aid, so that we are able to discuss it at length. And then we will be able to come in, all of us, and see how best. We have scheduled these meetings. We have scheduled the topic psychological first aid in 3 meetings. If you go to our KUPCA website, you will find those meetings scheduled. And my hope is that in today's meeting, we will narrow it down only to meeting 1. Let us leave what is there for meeting 2, and what is there for meeting 3 for meeting 3. We will discuss basically what we have scheduled for meeting 1 today. Catherine is going to moderate for us. And my hope is that we are going to look at the topics as they appear in our KUPCA WhatsApp. We will be defining what it is, who delivers it. We will be looking at where and when it should be offered. Then we will look at the benefits, and finally, the objectives and the modalities of delivery in this meeting. We have a short time, and therefore all of us may not participate, but the few who will be able to participate, we will be very glad. So I want to hand it over to Catherine so that she can start us off. Catherine, back to you.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. And I think the chair has explained it quite well. We want to be ready to know how exactly do we offer psychological first aid? Who is to receive it and who is to give it? So I think for the presentation, Chair, you can guide us. We had an outline, which I don't seem to find here. You can guide us from our outline as I try to trace mine.
Now the outline was, we were supposed to define psychological first aid. Let me just open mine. So if you look at your WhatsApp, we have it outlined there. For meeting 1 today, we are supposed to look at the definition of psychological first aid. And then we will look at who is psychological first aid for. Is it for everyone? Is it for counselors only? Is it for the affected? We will discuss that. Who is supposed to deliver it? Is it the counselors? Is it the frontline workers? Is it the medical practitioners, etc.? And then we will look at when and where should psychological first aid be used. We will zero down on the strengths of psychological first aid. And then we will look at the basic objectives of psychological first aid, and finally the delivery of psychological first aid. So my suggestion is, Catherine, we go step by step. We look at the definition, and then all of us can give the definition that we know of psychological first aid. Some of us, not all, and then we move to the next one. If all of us are in agreement that the definition that has been given is okay, then we pick that and move on to the next one, and so on and so forth. Back to you, Catherine.
Okay, thank you. I'll start with Ross. Ross, could you kindly give us, what do you understand by psychological first aid? What could you share with members?
Thank you, Catherine. For me, psychological first aid is equivalent to what we are used to in medical first aid treatment that is given to a client who is in it. Let's say, for example, if there's a traumatic event, what the counselor does in the first few hours or the first few days would be very important. But the move today, the professional practice, what I've seen is that when there's, let's say, a traumatic event or something that requires psychological, medical and psychological attention, then what is important is give safety to the client, give the medical first aid, then as the client settles after safety, then the psychological first aid, something that was traditionally called debriefing.
Very much for your input. Alice and Nika, would you like to add on to what Ross has told us? Just unmute first.
Thank you very much, Chair. I think I want to support what Dr. Ria said. The most focused thing that I think we need to focus on as counselors is the situations that the clients are in. Because when we want to respond to this situation, we are looking at the first response that we can be able to handle in a client situation. So there's need to, okay, check on their safety, understand them, give them the room in a situation where they can be able to express themselves, then be in their shoes. So ensure that we empathize with them, then figure out the response strategy that you can be able to offer to the client in as much as immediate action is required. If there's referral, then we need to have the fingertips referral areas that would be most suitable for the client. Then we can be able to respond to the first and psychological response that is required in this pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll call on Jen Gure. Jen, you're most welcome. Please unmute and enrich the contributions of Dr. Alice and Dr. Ross. Dr. Jen, we are waiting for you. Maybe she's having connection problem. Jane Gure, are you there? Okay, I will ask Joyce Wangari to enrich on the definition by Dr. Alice and Dr. Ross, please.
Sorry, come again.
Could you enrich? Just give us more input on psychological first aid.
Well, I was not ready to speak just right now, but in my understanding, psychological first aid is the newest form after we did away with debriefing. I still see a lot, many times people talking of debriefing, but this one entails just being there for the person who's recently being traumatized, stabilization, and creating a safe space, usually in combination with any humanitarian support that that person would want. So linking them to that kind of a service. So that's my understanding so far.
Thank you very much for your input. I think we are clear about psychological first aid, how we can define it. We look who delivers psychological first aid and whom is it delivered to. We can get input. Whoever is ready can please just give us an input, unmute and give us your input. Who is to deliver psychological first aid?
Can I give my input?
Yeah, please do.
Can I give my input?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, we are answering the question, who gives psychological first aid, isn't it? Now, psychological first aid, who is psychological first aid for? It is basically for almost everyone who is undergoing trauma. So we are talking here of people who are in self-quarantined at their homes, people who are quarantined in respective places by the government. We are looking at the general population who call to seek information from us as helpers. We are looking at people who have recovered from COVID-19. We are looking at families and friends of the deceased, those that have lost their family members. We are looking at caregivers with children at home who are not going to school. They're not able to be with their children. They also need psychological first aid. We are looking at first responders and other disaster relief workers, the medical personnel, the nurses, the psychological personnel who do that first-hand respondents. We are looking at older adults who are isolated at home. Now we are not able to visit them back at home. We are also looking at them in terms of who needs psychological first aid, because we've already said it is a method of helping people in distress so that they can feel calm and supported to cope better with their challenges. So in my view, all these people need psychological first aid. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. With that, now we can also address who gives psychological first aid. Feel free to unmute and give us your input. Who should give psychological first aid? We have heard of all the people who need psychological first aid, anyone in distress, basically. And this distress also involves people who are in frontline work, and that also includes us as counselors. I know a lot is coming to us. Who is qualified to give psychological first aid?
Hello, Catherine. Hello. Hello.
Hi.
Yes. I think to respond to that, all professionals who are in the mental health and the medical practitioners are in a position to provide the psychological first aid. So the medical staff, the psychologists, the counselors, and because people are at home, there are those who are carers in one way or another. They may not be professionals, but they are immediate. If they are able to listen and be able to calm the person in as far as humanitarian ground is concerned, then that would also support the professional support that is required for psychological first aid. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think this is well covered. We know who qualifies for psychological first aid. We see who are able to give and what it entails. Where do we give for psychological first aid? Which places? We're asking when, where. Of course, you've seen when is when people are in distress, but in what places do we give psychological first aid? Susan, maybe you can give us your input.
Yeah, hi Catherine and everyone else. Yeah, where? Yeah, this is an interesting one, and like Chair was saying, you know, giving the breakdown of where all these people are. There are those at quarantine, they're at home, others are in isolation centers. So I think it will depend with who you are able to reach wherever you are that you know needs psychological first aid. There could even be your neighbor who is suffering in one way or another. And in this time of a lot of social distancing, we're having to do most of this online. So maybe for some people, you have to do something like a Zoom call to another family or to people in hospital or somewhere else. So I think it will really depend with where you are needed and what would be the best form for you to give that psychological first aid. So maybe some people can physically be able to go to hospital, but I'm hoping if we are to go into especially the high risk areas like the hospitals or the isolation and quarantine centers, that there will be provision for the protective gear so that we are able to protect ourselves. So I think we would have to really be innovative in where we are called up to see how best we can give the psychological first aid. That's my input.
Yeah, thank you very much. You realize there has been a change of dynamics now. Counseling as we knew it has changed. Now we are doing telecounseling. We're encouraged to be in close proximity with our clients, but because of the situation we are in now, we are not. So I agree with you. I think I'll give this to Jen Gatia. Jen, please just unmute and recap for us even the remaining. We are looking at the basic objectives and the delivery of psychological first aid. Jen?
Yes, I have unmuted myself. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, and nice to see you.
Yes, and I'm sorry, I'm just joining late. I had a few technical issues with my phone, but I'm glad I'm able to join you. Yes, my name is Jane Gatia, and some of you may have known I was the immediate chair of KUPCA, and I'm proud to see you all, Catherine there, and the chair, and a few other people I can recognize. I'm glad for this progress. Yes, about psychological first aid. Formerly, we were calling it psychological, critical incident stress debriefing, because a critical incident has happened of a different magnitude, of a different nature. And I think we are all in agreement from where I've joined you that we actually have a crisis. We have a looming psychological crisis, and it is only fair for us to think ahead of time. I have found Alice Anika, Dr. Alice, talking about who should give psychological first aid and corrective aid. Yes, anyone who understands the psychological approach to critical incidents can be able to do that. But basically, my major concern is the objective of doing psychological first aid. Why do we want to do psychological first aid? You and I, as professionals, already understand that when a critical incident happens, when the unexpected happens, people are put on the back seat of their own lives. They are no longer in charge. And I think that's what we are feeling, most of the people at the moment, whether they are already in quarantine, whether they are out of the quarantine, whatever the case, we know that people have been put in a situation where they have never been before. And what this is likely to do is to cause trauma in some people. Probably, some people could even develop post-traumatic stress after this. And bearing in mind that we are not able to assess for PTSD before 3 months are over from the time of the incident, I think this is the best time. So we are giving psychological first aid to help people to negotiate this process. Whether they are in quarantine, they come out of quarantine, some people do not outlive the nightmares of what they went through, or even having suffered from coronavirus itself is not a cup of tea. And people need to be able to develop the muscle, the necessary muscle to be able to negotiate and get back to their lives once that opportunity comes. So generally, we are trying to equip people, we are trying to help them to normalize what has happened in their own ways, in their own situations, with their own potential and resources, so that they are not pushed to the deep valley where some of the people may never come out. I think that is generally the main purpose. And where to do the psychological first aid, I think you depend on many things, on many circumstances. Like now on this video call, on this Zoom, even video call, teleconference, people can still be talked to. At least I've been able to talk to one person who is in Germany on video call using WhatsApp Messenger, and that has done a lot of good to them. So I think as psychologists, we just have to be creative. We have to work with what works for the client. And we need to remember that in the psychological first aid, we give the client, the recipient of the service, the opportunity to express their feelings. That's very, very important, because this COVID-19 has come with a package of anger, of hurt, of guilt. It has also brought about so much distress. And these are emotions that cannot easily be managed when a person is not talking about it. So we give them that platform, we give them that opportunity, because we are listeners. Basically, we are listeners, and we engage our gear of listening. Let the person say what it means to them. That's about the interpretation of what has happened. What does that mean to them? Is it about their business? Is it about their shame, having contracted COVID-19? Is it about having gone to a quarantine and being locked in there? And all that kind of exposure, some people interpret it differently. So that is very important, so that should the person be stuck on their own interpretation, then we should be able to lift them up and help them to be able to attach a positive meaning to what has happened to them and to be able to deal with that. And also, let's not forget that we help the person to identify their own support system, because the counselor or the psychological first aider will not always be there on the system. So whom would they like to talk to? Should they feel down? Remember, this is like a grieving moment for some people. What is their support system? Whom would they like to talk to, should they want to talk to someone? And at the same time, the behavioral, let's not forget that behavioral symptoms of people who are in distress, or people who are going through psychological disorientation. Let's find out, what are they finding most difficult to do or to adjust to? Is it the environment of their home? Is it just, being in a strange place? What is it that, what is it they are finding so difficult, and what happens to them when the idea of, this COVID-19, in whichever way it has affected them, when it comes into their mind, what is it that they think of? What is it that they do? And definitely, let's help them to engage in activities that will take them away from just being preoccupied with the COVID-19. I think in a nutshell, that's my take on simply what the psychological first aid should entail. But we have the capacity, and people have capacity. If we are believers of Carl Rogers, that people have resources, people have potential, and they can rise above any situation given in life. And that's my take. I think I'll stop there. And yeah, you can tell me maybe if I've left out something, and together we can do more. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that input. Lillian, I'll pass it to you in the interest of time so that you recap. We had only 40 minutes.
Okay. Thank you, Catherine. And thank you, Jane, and all the other people who have participated at this meeting. I think we have learned quite a bit, and we will be putting up these on our website so that you can be able to get the full information. We started by looking at the definition of PFA, and we have defined it very appropriately. We have moved ahead to look at who receives PFA, who delivers, when should it be used, and where should it be used. And I think we are clear about where, who, and when it should be used. Jane has taken us through objectives of PFA, and probably I may just add on what Jane has said before we wrap it up. With me, I have about 9 objectives of PFA, and maybe I'll put up these on our website as well. One of it is to establish human connection. These are people who have lost connection with humanity, and so one purpose is to establish a human connection in a non-intrusive, compassionate manner. We do not want to intrude. That is why Jen was asking, find out where they are at that point, what they would want. And then number 2, I would talk of enhancing immediate and ongoing safety. Immediate and ongoing safety. Are they safe wherever they are? Both physically, emotionally, and psychological comfort. We need to find out where are they at that point. If they are in self-quarantine, are they physically safe? If they are in a government facility, are they safe? That is one of the objectives. Then number 3, calm and orient emotionally overwhelmed or distraught survivors. We need to calm them down. We need to inform them that these are perfectly normal reactions under any trauma, and therefore they need to calm down emotionally. Then number 4, there is need for assessment of immediate needs and concerns, and need to gather more information. What is their immediate concern? What is this practical need that they may require at this particular time? Is it water? Is it connection with a significant other? Is it a blanket? Is it food? What is their immediate need? So assessment of immediate needs and concerns is key. And of course, gathering more information about what the client requires. Offering practical assistance and information to help survivors to address their immediate needs that we've already mentioned. And practical means tangible evidence of what can be of help to the client at that particular point. Then connecting the survivors to social support networks. What social support networks do they have? Is it family members? Is it neighbors? Is it a community helping resource? Is it a counselor somewhere? We need to find out where can we connect this survivor for social support network. And then we also need to provide information that they may need to help them cope at this particular time. They may not know how to cope, in as much as they may have coping within themselves, but there is need. When we are handling PFA, one of our objectives should be to provide information that helps the survivors cope effectively with psychological impact of the disaster. And finally, we need to be clear about our availability. When you start psychological first aid, how available are you going to be and when? And if you're not going to be there, it is appropriate that you link the survivor to other members of the disaster response team. There may be quite a number of them. Who are you linking this client to in the event that you're not available, the client is not hanging? That is key as also another objectives of psychological first aid. So there are 9 psychological first aid objectives that we can zero down onto, and we will share this information with us on our website. So I think because of time, I want to pass it back to Catherine so that we can move on.
Thank you. Everyone, with then burning reaction is welcome. We have 3 minutes. And burning reaction. I see Jen is unmuted. You have an addition? It's open to members for any additions you've had from our facilitators. All right, if I'm not locking anyone out, I'll say thank you very much for finding time to attend. I think now we are clear on the definition of psychological first aid and how to go about it. What would be the objective of conducting psychological first aid? Whom do we offer it to? We have seen the wide array of people who need our intervention, and it almost looks like it's everyone who is able to offer psychological first aid, and we've seen any caregiver who is skilled in psychological first aid, because we've seen it's helping people who are in distress, who are going through critical stress or incidents should be able to offer. The objectives are clear. So this has been recorded, and I'll pass it to our platform, the WhatsApp platform, so that we share and for our future reference. I'll set up another meeting, our weekly meeting next week, Thursday, so feel free to engage. We can continue the discussion on WhatsApp. I really appreciate your time. And I'm saying until next time, we need to keep safe. Let's observe all the guidelines we've been given. We are talking of physical distance now, but social connection, let's stay socially connected. We are talking about self-care. We have to take care of our emotions as counselors. We need to be aware, what is it really we are feeling? We need to reach out to each other. We have a wide group here we can reach out to, so feel free to reach to each other. And let's keep engaged, let's keep busy and keep safe, so that after all this, we are going to be here, because it will end, and it will end soon. Thank you very much for your time. We'll see you next week or in other forums. Bye, Rini.
Thank you, and see you.
Bye.
Asante. Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Okay.
And remember to check. Remember to check the topics for next meeting. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.